Grantleigh looked peaceful. The manor, the village, the clipped accents, and polite smiles. But beneath the charm of To the Manor Born lay a sharp story of pride, class, loss, and a fading world. Decades later, the real lives of the cast brought their own surprises. Beloved stars gone too soon, quiet final chapters, and lasting careers, and familiar faces changed by time. This is To the Manor Born. Then and now, Marjorie Frobisher was the friend Audrey needed most, not because she always agreed with her, but because she knew exactly when to smile, advise, and quietly rescue the situation. Played by Angela Thorne, born January 25, 1939, in Karachi, British India, Pakistan. Marjorie was 40 when To the Manor Born first aired in 1979. She worked because she brought warmth and common sense to a world of pride, class tension, and carefully polished manners. Audrey could be sharp and stubborn and deeply attached to the old order, but Marjorie softened those edges without stealing the comedy. Thorne gave her gentle timing, loyalty, and a wonderfully British restraint. The kind of performance where a tiny look could easily say more than a whole speech. Marjorie's middle-class steadiness was the perfect counterweight to Audrey's aristocratic certainty, and her friendship helped keep the show human beneath all the satire. Away from the manor, Angela Thorne enjoyed an incredibly successful, respected career across television, stage, and radio, later becoming widely remembered for Anyone for Dennis and other polished comic roles. She died in 2023 at 84. Marjorie remains beloved because Thorne made friendship feel sensible and kind. Mrs. Polovica brought a sharp little spark into Grantleigh, the kind of mother who could smile politely while making it clear she missed nothing. Played by Daphne Hurd, born August 1, 1904 in Plymouth, Devon, England, Mrs. Polovica was 75 when To the Manor Born began in 1979. She worked because she gave Richard de Vere's world a deeper family texture. Richard may have entered the manor as a polished, self-made millionaire, but around his mother, we saw a different side of him. A son shaped by loyalty, heritage, and the quiet pressure of being understood by someone who knew him before success. Hurd gave Mrs. Polovica wit, warmth, and a lively edge, especially when her old-world instincts clashed with Audrey's aristocratic certainty. Their differences added another layer to the show's class comedy, making Grantleigh feel less like a museum of manners and more like a place where histories collided. Daphne Hurd had a long, highly respected career across British stage and television, bringing character and precision to every role. She passed away in 1983 at 78. Mrs. Polovica remains memorable because Hurd made maternal devotion feel funny, fierce, and wonderfully difficult to ignore. Brabinger was the kind of servant who seemed to belong to Grantleigh as much as the walls, the silver, and the old. Family Portraits, played by John Rudling, born January 31, 1907 in South Norwood, London, England. Brabinger was 72 when To the Manor Born first aired in 1979. He worked because he represented a vanishing world, one built on loyalty, habit, hierarchy, and the quiet rituals of country house life. Yet Rudling never made him stiff or lifeless. Brabinger had dry humor, sleepy charm, and an endearing devotion to Audrey Forbes Hamilton. Even after the estate no longer belonged to her, his presence gave the series a nostalgic softness, reminding viewers that change at Grantleigh was not just about money and class, but about people losing the patterns that defined their lives. Rudling brought decades of stage experience to the role, and that discipline showed in every measured look and gentle comic pause. His health later declined, which made his final scenes incredibly poignant for viewers. John Rudling died of respiratory complications in 1983. Aged 76, Brabinger remains beloved because John Rudling made old service feel incredibly loyal, fragile, and quietly funny. The rector gave To the Manor Born a warm moral center, standing quietly between village tradition and social tension, and Audrey's absolute certainty that she knew best. Played by Gerald Sim, born on June 4, 1925, in Liverpool, England. The rector was 54 when the series started in 1979. He worked because Grantleigh needed someone who belonged without getting trapped by its snubberies. Dealing with Audrey, Richard, and the shifting class order, the rector offered calm observation, dry amusement, and the kind of patient decency that made the comedy feel warmer. Sim played him with understatement, never forcing the humor. His strength lay in the gentle reaction, the thoughtful pause, and the sense that he had heard enough local drama to know every crisis would eventually just become gossip over tea. Outside the show, Gerald Sim built a highly respected career across British film, television, and theatre, always bringing quiet intelligence to supporting roles. Time moved on. His work included projects like A Bridge Too Far, Patton, and numerous television dramas, and he was the brother of actress Sheila Sim. He passed away in 2014 at 89. Following a long illness, the rector remains deeply cherished because Sim made village wisdom feel incredibly kind, amused, and human. Brigadier Leamington carried the old world in his posture, polished, proper, and slightly bewildered by changes happening around him. Played by Anthony Sharp, born June 16, 1915 in London, England, the Brigadier was 64 when he appeared into the Manor Born. His character worked because the series was built on the tension between tradition and the modern age, and Leamington embodied the generation that still trusted rank, manners, clubs, uniforms, and the old social map. Sharp gave him dignity without making him feel untouchable, adding dry humor and gentle confusion whenever the village's shifting realities disrupted his expectations. Around Audrey, he helped reinforce the world she desperately wanted to preserve. Around Richard, he highlighted how much that world was forced to adjust. Sharp's career stretched across British theatre, film, and television, where he frequently played authority figures, gentlemen, officials, and men shaped by tradition and etiquette. That background made the Brigadier feel instantly authentic. He passed away in 1984 at age 69 after heart attack. Brigadier Leamington remains memorable because Anthony Sharp made tradition feel dignified, funny, and quietly out of time. Lumsden brought bureaucracy into the gentle warfare of Grantleigh, arriving with the stiff formality of a man who believed paperwork outlasted emotion. Played by John Barron, born December 24, 1920, in London, England, Lumsden was 61 when he appeared in 1981. He fit right into the show. Barron loved placing grand feelings against very British obstacles, rules, and offices, procedures, and officials who seemed to enjoy saying no with perfect manners. Barron gave Lumsden clipped authority and dry, comic precision, making him feel like the kind of civil servant who could ruin your day without ever raising his voice. His presence added another layer to the show's class satire, reminding viewers that old estates and personal pride still had to answer directly to modern systems. Barron was already a very familiar face on British television, especially as CJ in The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, where his stern delivery became sitcom history. He also worked widely on stage and screen, often playing men of high rank, rules, and rigid self-belief. He passed away in 2004 at 83 due to cancer. Lumsden remains memorable because Barron made officialdom feel cold, funny, and wonderfully immovable. Polly brought style, sharpness, and a modern glint into the Manor Born, giving Audrey's world another voice of wit and social. Played by Celia Imrie, born July 15, 1952 in Surrey, England, Polly was 27 when she appeared in 1979. Her character worked because the show needed more than just Audrey and Richard's battle of class and pride. Polly helped expand the social scene around Grantleigh, bringing sharp comments, an elegant presence, and a lighter contrast to Audrey's deep-rooted traditional ways. Imrie brought natural brightness and sharp comic timing to the role. She was the kind of actor who made a line hit harder just by how she delivered it. While Polly was not the main character, she added rich texture to their village world, polished, observant, and quietly mischievous. In the years that followed, Celia Imrie became one of Britain's most beloved actresses. Audiences know her from Calendar Girls, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, and Nanny, Msifi, and many other roles showing her warmth and wit. In 2026, she turned 74. Polly remains a wonderful early look at an actress who would become a true national treasure. Mademoiselle Dutoit brought continental elegance to Grantleigh, arriving with poise, sharp intelligence, and just enough mystery to disrupt the village rhythm. Played by Rula Lenska, born September 30th, 1947 in St. Neots, Cambridgeshire, England, she was 34 when appearing in 1981. The character worked because to the Manor Born thrived on contrasts, old money versus new, village traditions clashing with outside influences, British restraint versus more expressive European ways. Mademoiselle Dutoit brought a sophisticated shift in tone, especially as a French governess whose presence brought culture, refinement, and the comic awkwardness of Grantleigh's rigid social world meeting something entirely different. Lenska played the role with elegance and dry intelligence, making even a small role feel highly polished. Outside of the show, Rula Lenska built a long, diverse career in theatre, television, radio, and film. She became famous for Rock Follies, Doctor Who, Coronation Street, and other British hits, keeping a sharp presence for decades. In 2026, she turned 79. Mademoiselle Dutoit is still memorable because Lenska made sophistication feel playful, poised, and gently disruptive. Adam Forbes Hamilton stepped in much later during the To the Manor Born run, bringing a younger, fresh modern energy into a world of old estates, old manners, and old emotional battles. Played by Alexander Armstrong, born March 2nd, 1970 in Rothbury, Northumberland, England, Adam was 37 when he did the 2007 revival. He really worked because his presence showed how the Grantleigh world kept going beyond the original series. Adam carried the Forbes Hamilton name into a whole new era, where tradition still mattered but couldn't escape modern life. Armstrong gave him real charm, intelligence, and a natural comic rhythm, fitting right into the show's blend of social observation and warm satire. His role connected the past with the present, reminding viewers that a family legacy is both an inheritance and a burden. Outside of this guest role, Armstrong became famous as a comedian, actor, singer, and TV host, especially on Armstrong and Miller and the hit quiz show Pointless. His sharp wit and musical background turned him into one of Britain's most versatile stars. In 2026, he turns 56. Adam remains a key later addition because Armstrong helped bring Grantleigh's classic story into a new century without losing any charm. Diana Hodge brought a lively warmth to the Manor Born. She was the kind of character who made the village feel more social, more human, and less trapped by class divisions. Played by John Blackham, born May 15, 1946 in Wolverhampton, England, Hodge was in her early 30s when she appeared around 1980. She worked because the show's magic came not just from Audrey and Richard's constant sparring, but from the supporting cast who made Grantleigh feel like a real, living community. Hodge brought plenty of energy, wit, and a warm presence that helped soften the edges of more rigid characters. Blackham gave her a natural brightness, making the character feel genuinely friendly without ever being bland. Outside of the series, Blackham built a rich career across theater, television, and film, including notable roles in Bridget Jones' Diary and the stage adaptation of Calendar Girls. She also supported the arts through teaching and assessment, especially helping students with special educational needs. Joan Blackham died of cancer in 2020 at age 74. She made village life feel warmer, richer, and touched by the easy humor of someone who belonged. Bob Roberts brought the Manor, a practical, grounded voice, the kind of man who knew old estates do not run on pride alone. He was played by Blaine Fairman, born December 26, 1941 in British Columbia, Canada. Bob was 38 when he appeared in 1979. His role worked because the comedy depended on contrast. Audrey moved with aristocratic certainty, while Richard carried a self-made confidence. Characters like Bob reminded everyone that real work, repairs, and common sense kept the entire village running. Fairman gave Bob an easy reliability, making him the one stable person the Manor residents could rely on when their world got ridiculous. His straightforward attitude added warmth to the class satire, proving that dignity does not require a title or money. Beyond to the Manor Born, Fairman built a diverse career in film, television, and voice acting, working across both British and international productions. He was respected for his versatility, bringing real depth to supporting roles through natural understatement. In 2026, he turns 85. Bob Roberts stays memorable because Fairman made practical decency feel steady, useful, and essential to the life of Grantleigh. Audrey Forbes Hamilton did not just lose a home, she lost the entire world that defined her identity. Played by Penelope Keith, born April 2nd, 1940 in Surrey, England, Audrey was 39 when the show began in 1979. The character worked because she was proud, sharp, funny, and never as secure as she pretended. Audrey could wield words like a weapon, but underneath that aristocratic armor was real grief over losing Grantleigh and the identity that went with it. Keith gave her incredible comic timing, the raised eyebrow, the icy pause, the bruised dignity after each social setback. Yet she made Audrey lovable because her stubborn attitude came from fear as much as pride. Her sparring with Richard DeVere became the show's heartbeat, a romance forged through class conflict, irritation, and mutual respect. Before this, Keith was already a household favorite as Margot Leadbetter in The Good Life, and Audrey sealed her reputation as one of Britain's best comedy actors. In 2026, she turns 86. Audrey stays iconic because Penelope Keith made snobbery hilarious, heartbreak visible, and old-school pride. Richard DeVere stepped onto the Grantleigh estate as the outsider who had everything money could buy, except for the acceptance of the elite world he had just entered. Played by Peter Bowles, born October 16, 1936 in London, England. Richard was 43 when the series started in 1979. He worked because he was more than just a rich guy buying Audrey's home. He was confident, charming, self-made, and well aware that high society would always treat him as an intruder. Bowles gave Richard real elegance without making him seem arrogant, sharp wit without being cruel, and genuine resilience behind that polished smile. His banter with Audrey drove the series. Class pride versus new money, tradition versus change, with friction slowly turning to affection. That constant tension made the comedy much sharper than any basic romance. Beyond Grantleigh, Bowles carved out a long career in British theatre and television. He was known for smooth, smart performances in both dramas and comedies. He later starred in The Bounder, Only When I Laugh, and several major stage plays. Peter Bowles passed away from cancer in 2022 at age 85. Richard de Vere stays unforgettable because Bowles made ambition feel graceful, vulnerable, and impossible. Not to admire Grantleigh might have looked timeless, but time changed everyone who passed through its gates. Several actors from the cast became beloved British television legends. Some found quiet in their final years. Many have sadly passed, but they left us with roles full of wit, class, and effortless charm. That old manor, the village, and those rivalries still feel alive because of the humanity they brought. So, which actor's story surprised you the most? Comment below, subscribe, and join us next time on Hollywood 1960s.